Hi, I'm Larry and welcome back to my studio. Today I'm going to show you some techniques on how to use your brushes. This is just some basic stuff that you need to practice, but a lot of beginners just simply don't know how to use their brushes. I've got the angle brushes that I use, and here's a flat brush that I occasionally use, not too often. And then I have a round brush. And I'm going to show you how each of these do similar strokes. Now, one of the things, if you're a new student, you may want to know, well, can I use my oil brushes? I was an oil painter. And what's the difference between the brushes? Well, the first thing you'll notice is that oil/acrylic brushes are much longer because you're standing away from your canvas usually. It's standing is the operative word there, and you want to hold the brush back. It gives you a little more freedom of movement. So that's one of the obvious differences between the two. And you can, if this brush has only been an acrylic paint, you can use this brush. However, if it's ever been in oil paint, you want to mark it in some way, either write on it or put a piece of tape around it or something so that you know that it's been in oil, because the oil will stay in the bristles and it can migrate up under, this is called a ferrule, this metal thing here, and it can migrate up there, and if you're painting and that oil gets on your paper, it can leave ugly marks on your paper. So you want to make sure that if it's ever been in oil paint, just to be on the safe side, no matter how good you clean it, there could still be some hidden oil up there. So make sure that you don't use an oil brush in your watercolors. So I want to, I've said it before in some of my other videos, is that you can use, the back sides of paper. Like this one, when I used this for a demo last time on wet on dry and wet into wet. Well, it was on the back of something I started and messed up the video on, so I had to restart. But it's fine. It's not going to hurt anything. This one, I just finished doing a video, and on the back I've got something there. This is just for practice. When you're practicing, it doesn't matter. Another thing you can do if you're practicing is get some cards. There's usually cards at most of your arts and crafts stores, and they're on watercolor paper. And you can see it. It'll say right on the box, 140-pound watercolor paper, or 90-pound, which isn't as good. But you can take the cards and spread them out and practice your techniques. You can spread it out and use the whole card, or you can take and just do it on the front, and then whoever lives the furthest away, you write in there and say, oh, I'm taking a watercolor class, and this is what we've been doing, or practice on the back. Here's some things, and if you send it away, you may never see it again. But, this gives you practice, practicing negative painting around the tree. Here I was practicing making some flowers. This was just kind of an abstract, just using my brushes in different ways. Here was doing some wet into wet flowers. But these are all things that you can do. Or say it's the holidays and you found one more person you needed to send a card to. Voila, you've got cards. Simple, quick, and you write in there, happy holidays, Merry Christmas. I've been taking watercolor classes, and they're going to be so impressed with you. And you can even put it on the outside, decorate the envelope. So, these are just ways I want you to think. These aren't anything exciting or, you know, nothing you, well, I shouldn't say you wouldn't want to frame. Your friends may save these. I had a friend's mother save every card I sent her, and when I finally visited her, she had them all up on the wall in little frames. She was so happy to get them. And my mother used to do cards, and after she passed away, her friends, you know, wrote to me and said, do you want her cards back? And my mom thought, oh, well, they just throw them away. Your friends do not throw them away. So practice. This is how you get better. You know, I'm not sure we ever get good. You know, we all, you know, strive to do something, you know, else. Okay, now here's my palette. Now, if you go to my blog spot, you'll see in the sidebar there's an equipment list, and I have a list of paints that I use for class. Those will be the only ones that I use during these demos. So, you know, I always put them out in the same way. I go from the darkest color to the lightest color, from the cool colors, which are blues and greens and purples, to my warm colors, which are yellows, reds, and oranges. So I always put them out in the same order. This down here are my browns. I got burnt umber, burnt sienna. This is Indian red and raw umber and raw sienna. So I always put them out so I know exactly where they are. So let me get started here, and I'm going to be doing the 3 different. I'll start with my angle brush so that you can see. Okay, here's my angle brush. That's just a simple movement. Pressure is key. If I you know, just lightly press, I can, now this is pretty wet. I can get a more dry brush effect. If I'm pressing and turning, press and then turn up, I can get effects like that. Same thing with a flat brush. I'll just pick up, and the color right now does not matter. So this is the flat brush, and see it does a similar thing. If I dry it out, I can get it to do a dry brush technique, or press and turn. I can create leaves, I can create grass, I can create ribbon. You know, if you're doing this, turn up and then turn back and twist it, you can create the effect of ribbon. And then a similar thing in, now the round brush is going to give you a little bit different look. You know, if I kind of hold it to the side and press, I can get a very similar look to the other two. But if I hold it on its tip and press, I can get a thinner line. If I want a dry brush, same thing. I'm just drying the brush and spreading and just lightly skimming. Pick up some more paint. If I go on the tip and then press and turn and then come back up, I can create leaves. You know, you have to practice these things. So give me a second, I need to change the paper, and I'll be right back. Okay, again, I want to show you, this is the back of something I was using before. I'm doing this so that you know you have permission to do this. All right, so I've just put it here, and I'm going to be using this. Have a paper towel handy in your hand. Going to rinse my, this will be my angle brush. Now, one of the things you want to do, I'm going to show you how to shade with this. This is sometimes called an angled shader. But I'm just going to pick up paint on the tip of this. So there's just paint on the tip of that. I want to just make sure I've got all the excess water out. And I'm putting the whole brush down on the paper. So the whole brush is on the paper. You know, I talked too much and the paint moved. So let me try that again. I can always edit that out, but I'm not going to, because you need to see that I don't always make things perfect. So whole brush is on the paper. It's a little bit darker. This happens in class too. I can do this all day long and have it perfect, and then get in front of a bunch of people and it doesn't do what I need it to do. There we go. That's better. Okay, so you can see it's darker at the top and lighter at the bottom. Let's see if my flat brush works any better. Same thing, I've just loaded one corner of it and I'm putting the whole brush. Oh yeah, that probably because I ignore it so much. So you can get a similar effect where it's darker, and then you can see how the paint migrates into the wet area that your brush leaves behind. Now I'm getting, this is the round brush. Now this one I'm going to put on its side and pull across. Well, now I need to get some water on there. But you can get a similar effect where the brush was wet without paint. The paint that you have on the tip, now I just have it right there on the tip. And I'm just going to, it's harder to do it with this, but I'm just going to pull it across. And you see that it blends. And if it doesn't want to blend, you rinse out your brush, clean it just with water, and just touch it with water at the bottom. I went over this before. You want to have wet paper and just let the paint flow into it. Now what can you do with this? These techniques they come in handy in all sorts of conditions, and as you paint you'll understand that. One of the, use the blue again. One of the things a lot of my students like to see, this is my angle brush again, is that I can make flowers. And I've got the point has got the paint in it, and the heel of that brush has no paint in it. It's just got water. And I'm wiggling my brush. All right, rinse your brush because you will contaminate the back part of your brush, and then just reload. Just pick it up on the tip, and then wherever you want the lighter part, just put the heel of the brush and then wiggle it. Now I have too much water on the brush, but that's okay. Same thing with the, now the reason I usually use the angle brush is that in certain ways when I hold the flat brush, I can't see the tip. You know, if I'm holding it up like that, I can't see the tip. Whereas if I hold this angle brush, I can still see the tip. So it makes it a little bit easier. Let's see if I can get, oh, there it goes. Water on your brush is important to control. You know, if it's too wet, it's going to all bleed in together. Here again, I've just got paint on the tip of this brush, and I'm just kind of pushing it back and forth, and you can see how it bleeds into where just the wet part of the brush is. You need to practice, you know, do things like this so that you can understand what's going to happen. This shading comes in very handy. This is also kind of a decorative painter technique, but it works well for anything that you need to you know, paint. You know, whatever you're doing, if it works, use it. Okay, now this is just this again. For leaves, I'll stand it up on its edge and then twist and press and then twist back up. Brushes are your multi-tool. Learn how they work. The longer you pull, the longer you'll get a leaf. So practice that. I'm not going to do the green one because it's basically the same. I'm loading up the round brush, but I want you to see. Okay, I'm up on the tip and I drag it and then I push and then I twist back up. I'm at an odd angle here, so up on the tip, press and twist, and come back up. So practice these things. You can also use your brush in a dry brush manner. And a dry brush, this will be the angle brush. You can use this for wood, you can use it for hair, but I'm barely skimming the surface of this. You can use it for grass. That happens with the flat brush too. Pick up my round brush, I'm loading it. You want to squeeze the back of it and then spread the bristles, and you know, you can use that for hair. This will give you a more natural look rather than a fan brush. A fan brush can sometimes be, when you use it, you end up making a whole series of little fans, and that becomes quite obvious. So I'd rather use a round brush and spread out the bristles and use that for hair or grass or wood grain. You need to practice this. So I hope you've learned something, and I will have more techniques and tips later on. So stay safe, call your friends, your family, you know, and most of all, keep creating art, and I hope someday I will see you in class real soon. Thank you for watching.